are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. So welcome back to our class on the Wishfulfilling Jewel after we had a Christmas and New Year break. I hope everyone had some great holidays and all the very best wishes for 2020. May your practice flourish, may happiness abound, may prosperity abound, may enlightenment happen. So we're presently at the very conclusion of this study. So the Wishfulfilling Jewel, which is then the practice of Guru Yoga according to the Longchen Nyingtik, is also this teaching that we have here. The Wishfulfilling Jewel is something really that is relevant for whichever Guru Yoga we might be practicing. And it's also very helpful in order to really understand what is the core of Vajrayana practice. But it is very much a practitioner's guide. So what we have here is very much advice on what we should be doing. And we basically covered all the aspects of the practice itself. So now we have some concluding advice on how to integrate this practice in all the aspects of our life. So kindly generate the intention to apply this with the thought of the suffering of all sentient beings and how through this practice we can alleviate their suffering. We can get to the bottom of this delusion that afflicts everyone through the profound path of the Guru Yoga. And recognizing that, then this is the motivation that drives our study and also our practice. As usual, I'm just going to go over one of the great lineage masters. So we've been covering the lineage masters, and we also studied the Longchen Rabjam, who we sometimes refer to as the second primordial Buddha, in that Longchen Rabjam was somebody who very clearly established clarified the teaching of the Great Perfection. So now I'm going to look at someone who came after that, which is the great Mindrling Terchen, Gyurme Dorje, who was a very great saint, and he was somebody whose legacy still lives with us. He founded the tradition of Mindrling, which is a lineage of great practitioners, and particularly then also it became he founded a monastery that really in the Nyingma tradition is one of the, or probably we would say sort of the key, the most important of the Nyingma monasteries. It's in central Tibet, south of Lhasa, and not so far from the Lhasa airport. But he he established a lineage of both this monastic institution and also what we call a blood lineage, which pretty much endured until recent time. It's a little bit sort of a disruption in the 19th century, but until the present day, we pretty much have an unbroken lineage of a family where one of the children is what we call the throne holder, and then we have one who is the abbot, the one who holds the monastic lineage, and then also a daughter who then particularly holds the Dzogchen teaching that came from Minderling Terchen. So, and this actually we have to the present day. Presently, we have the Minderling throne holder. Mind you, the previous one passed away a few years ago, but I'm sure there's somebody else who's taking his place. There's certainly the Khenpo, the abbot, and then also, possibly most famous of all, is the daughter, who presently is then known as Ngondro Rinpoche and teaches quite widely, speaks very good English, and has done a lot for the Buddhist teaching. Anyway, Minderling Terchen then lived in the 17th and 18th century, 1646 to 1714. At this point, we have the dates for these lineage masters. And so, from he was very young, there was a lot of extraordinary circumstances around his early days. He was accompanied by protectors and so forth. He perceived continually the presence of protectors, and very early on, he was trained by his father, was a great master, who was a great holder of the Nyingma lineage, and from the most tender years, really, Minderling Terchen trained with him, and from the age of 10, he already had great realization, and his dad actually appointed him as being holder of his lineage at that age. Minderling Terchen also encountered the fifth Dalai Lama, who became his guru, and he also studied with many other masters. And at that time, of course, there was a wealth of transmissions in the Nyingma lineage, and he is said to have received numerous of these, and also he mastered all these teachings he received. Particularly, he was very fond of the omniscient Longchenpa's writings and teachings, and he practiced and perfected these. So then from he was 18 onwards, he began to have treasure revelations, and these became the foundation of what we call the Minderling tradition, in the sense of being treasure teachings. He had a lot of activity, many students, and if you read in Nyoshu Khenpo's as well as Tugu Tundrup's biographies, you can see all the details about his life there. But he founded this monastery, and I think Nyoshu Khenpo was saying there was about 300 monastics there, but of course nowadays not so many, but you can still visit the place. There's still some of the buildings that are standing. So he then had several sons and daughters that carried on his lineage, and particularly then the Dzogchen teachings were carried on by his daughter, Minderling Minjo Paldron was her name, and we'll look at her life next time. Okay? All right. So the study. Let's see here. So we covered the base of the actual practice, and what we now have here is more advice on how to integrate the practice in ordinary life. So Khyentse Rinpoche talked about the necessity of continually sustaining the presence of the teacher by means of visualization and continually being mindful of the presence of the teacher, and particularly having this devotion, which is what enables us to melt, if you like, the rigidity of the ordinary perceptions. Khyentse Rinpoche then says here, these days, as a result of wild and wandering thoughts, many people experience various kinds of negative disturbances that are merely products of their own minds. Now remember, whatever we experience, we obviously perceive a reality in the exterior, but that reality that we attribute to the exterior is our version of that. So we are actually continually operating with what we call projections of our mind, and we need to understand that, particularly when we take these very seriously and we have strong likes and dislikes. This is where we have these negative disturbances. Rinpoche says, if they were, meaning if people nowadays were to understand such experiences as gifts of the Guru by which they can make progress on the path, instead of misconstruing them as outer influences, and if they were to supplicate the Guru one-pointedly by generating great compassion for the demons they perceive, they would be protected from all harm. So these projections and these experiences, these perceptions that we have, as we fuse our mind with the Guru, we should consider that all of our perceptions, all appearances, are fused with this presence of the teacher, with this wisdom, and as such we see all phenomena as the unity of appearance and emptiness. But we don't fixate on phenomena, but recognize their emptiness nature by means of this devotion, this bhakti, in which we then consider all phenomena never moving from their original empty ground. They're mere reflections, mere images that arise, and seeing that this unity of appearance and emptiness, we infuse it with this recognition on the basis of our devotion to the teacher. So that's where we would see whatever happens to us is like a magical display that the teacher is presenting to us as a way for us to progress along the path. We could see what is happening as a gift. If we're troubled by experiences with such negative energies, we should investigate the nature of their apparent existence. Think, look, does anything have any inherent existence? And this is where we establish that no, they're merely conditions that arise on the basis of causes and conditions. Rinpoche says we should determine whether or not there is anything concrete or tangible there, something we can grab with our hands or hit with a stick. If such negative energies exist, then where are they located? Where do they originate? And what causes and conditions enable them to arise? With such an analysis in mind, we should recite the Vajraguru mantra with one-pointed concentration, thinking, may these spirits encounter only good and beneficial teachings through the great compassion of Guru Rinpoche, and may they bring harm neither to themselves nor others. So we might project reality onto what we perceive as external entities of various sorts, but recognizing that they ultimately are unborn, uncreated, that they don't have any ultimate reality. As much as there are causes and conditions that bring about some appearance, there's not any ultimate reality. And we would then merely pray that these entities, whoever they are, whatever it is, may they encounter the teaching and be free. Remember, it says, may the precious bodhicitta take birth in their hearts. So this is the prayer that we make from may these spirits onwards, encounter and so on, down to may bodhicitta take birth in their heart. We pray this. We're going to come across people and circumstances that are hard to bear, and this is how we should. This should be our attitude. This is the way up. Us following our negative habits is the way down. One is the path of freedom. One is the path of further entanglement. It is especially beneficial, Rinpoche says, to blend the perception of these spirits, our own mind, and the enlightened mind of Guru Rinpoche into one with great compassion. When we understand all appearances to be the display of the wisdom of the Guru, then even the word obstacle will vanish. We will see that everything innately is the nature of purity. There's nothing in there that shouldn't be there, or is unwanted, or is something that is an obstacle. No matter what happens to us, we must always maintain purity of vision, perceiving all phenomena to be completely pure, and never permitting our minds to stray into conceiving them as the slightest bit impure. So when we are practicing pure vision, pure perception, this is seeing things for what they are, understanding that phenomena never stray from their original empty nature, even though there are appearances. We have a rainbow, there's nothing we can grasp. It's on the basis of certain causes and condition of water and light that we have a rainbow. Similarly, we perceive phenomena even though there's nothing we can grasp. And that understanding of the innate purity, the innate emptiness, this unity of appearance and emptiness, this is what we call deity. This is what we call mandala. This is what we call pure perception. And that's where, when we see that, we're in tune, we're aligned with reality. When we miss that, then we're out of touch, and we will suffer as a consequence. And that's where Rinpoche says it's essential that we don't begin to mistake phenomena. And that's where we need to continually make sure the mind doesn't stray into this delusion. He says we must always see the place where we are as the paradise of the glorious copper-colored mountain with all the beings there, whether tiny insects or our friends and relatives as dark as the dakinis. All we hear must be regarded as the ceaseless sound of the Vajraguru mantra. So this way of sustaining pure view is to see the realm that we're in as a Buddha field, such as the Buddha field of Padmasambhava. All phenomena, all appearances are the copper-colored mountain, all sounds are mantra. Then someone says, might you explain pure vision in relation to the current bushfire catastrophe for so many beings, both human and other? And of course, that's a very relevant question. When we talk about, I really appreciate that, because when we say pure vision, then people say, oh yeah, pure vision, it's such a nice thing. But then we come out of the session and then we discover a world where there's a tremendous amount of suffering. And the point is that nature in and of itself is pure, but each and every one of us sentient beings, we have conjured up karma from countless lifetimes, in which on the basis of likes and dislikes, we create patterns of great suffering, and we imbue our experience with these patterns of afflictions. And as a result of that, then we experience environments that reflect this afflicted condition. So all of us beings, it's not just the animals and the humans and so on that are going through this particular bushfire catastrophe, but it's the 6 realms altogether that are, if you like, on fire. One of the first sermons the Buddha actually gave, also in the tradition, is the Buddha said the world is on fire. And so we might think, oh, there's this event right now, but in fact, continually there's bushfire catastrophes everywhere throughout 6 realms. Right now, of course, this is something that we experience on a very immediate and how do you say, approximate level. But for us to benefit sentient beings, then it's necessary for us to free ourselves from the afflictions, the attachment, aversions, and so forth. And it's there where we'll be much more able to benefit beings. So we should have compassion for sentient beings, understand what they're going through, and the less we're caught up in our illusion, the more we have the empathy and the awareness of the suffering of others. So pure vision doesn't mean that we're blind to the suffering of others. It means that we are aware of where we get delusional and where we can be free of delusion. And when we're free of delusion, we're able to free up our capacity to benefit sentient beings. In the past, you had many great powers to on the basis of their great powers could stop these kind of catastrophes. Of course, sometimes conditions are not there in terms of the experience of sentient beings, but so often we have these great stories of how great yogis could benefit others and help in these kind of ways. It seems we don't have the powers right now to stop the bushfires and so forth, but what we can do, and I was just saying this to also some friends the other day, we can pray, we can influence, you could say, the universal energy with prayer, and there's a lot of prayers that we have that are particularly powerful. One of our teachers, Tuku Penwangel, he was recommending some prayers from the 7 chapters of the 7 chapters prayer to Guru Rinpoche, and also Tara, practice. Tsongtse Khyentse Rinpoche was recommending we chant Tara. And so it means that with pure vision, it means that we free our minds and unleash the power of being present in reality. And this enables us then to have great ability to help others. So we realize that while we might have clear vision, of course, sentient beings, they suffer from their particular individual karmic projections. Okay, from the Vajrayana perspective, should we engage with that suffering and try to influence the causes and conditions? Yes, very much so. We should understand the Vajrayana perspective doesn't mean that we go, oh, everything's pure just because that's the ultimate nature of reality. When we say Vajrayana, we are engaging, you could say, what's called the certain nitartha, the certain way of seeing things, the unity of appearance and emptiness. But sentient beings, they're not experiencing that. And so we should definitely be proactive as much as we could in any way. Those of us who are not afflicted, if we could help in any way with money or external actions of any kind, and also prayer. But we should also be aware of this blame game that seems to be a sort of default position that happens a lot, where we begin to sort of want to see the slam blame to people who in a way are ultimately powerless, and there's so much going on. We should be politically proactive, I think, but also I don't think this continual discourse of blame is particularly helpful either. It's more about doing things, I think. Yeah. All right. So when sitting, we should think of the Guru above our head and direct our constant devotion to him. And this also means when keeping the Guru in mind, then also when there are external situations like the fires and so forth, we're continually thinking of, as soon as there is the worry, we continually think of the Guru and direct our prayers to the Guru. So this continual rapport in which we're invoking this pure and very powerful dimension of the teacher. When walking, we should always feel that Guru Rinpoche and his Buddha field are just above our right shoulder, and that we are respectfully circumambulating him. We must develop the thought that there is not merely one paradise of the copper-colored mountain, but that within each pore of Guru Rinpoche's body exists billions of paradises with Guru Rinpoche and his retinue in each one. So the entire realm of what we call phenomenal appearances, they have never strayed from this original purity, and so we would regard all phenomena as the mandala of Guru Rinpoche. And again, when we say Guru Rinpoche embodies the enlightened presence in our world, and the Vajrayana display in our world, benefiting in countless ways beyond our understanding. And yet we should see Guru Rinpoche as inseparable from our own Guru. So when we talk about Guru Rinpoche, we can always think, this is who we're talking about here. This is our teacher. Before we eat or drink anything, we should first consider it transformed into pure nectar, amrita, and offer the first portion to the Guru residing in our throat. So this is where, before we sit down, of course, in a Christian context, we're familiar with this thing that we say, "Oh, I thank you," and we thank the Lord or whatever, the Almighty. But in the Buddhist teaching, we actually do something even more skillful, which is we make an offering out of it. So whatever we have, we consider that its innate nature is pure, and we recognize this, and we offer this to the deity. And so before we eat, we then have this moment of meditation, of visualization, and very often also we do some chanting. Rinpoche says, then we would consider that what we eat or drink, the remnants of our offering, has been given to us as a blessing that we might sustain our life. So we offer the first portion to the Guru sitting in our throat, and then the remainder we consider as something that we partake of, as something that sustains us. So Rinpoche says, we will in this way eliminate any clinging or craving for food. At night, before we sleep, we should think that Guru Rinpoche, who has throughout the day been dwelling above our head, now enters our head and slowly descends to our heart, coming to rest seated upon a luminous red lotus, whose 4 petals are slightly opened. This lotus is very bright, translucent, and vivid. Guru Rinpoche then emanates boundless rays of light, which, having completely illuminated our body and our room, expand and fill the universe with radiance and light. So at night, then, also quite helpful is to make a decision to not be distracted, and then we consider that Guru Rinpoche dwells within ourselves, and then light radiating out. We sustain this. When the entire universe has thus been transformed into pure light, we rest in simplicity, preserving the nature of awareness. So with that condition, we just relax into just that simple presence of nowness. Then, just as the moment when we feel ourselves slipping into sleep, we should see the outer universe of light dissolving into ourselves. We in turn then melt into light and dissolve into Guru Rinpoche, who himself, now the size of our thumb, melts into light and dissolves into space. Then we should just rest in equanimity in the vast, absolute expanse of void luminosity. Now, when we say void luminosity, we might think that there's some sort of light that's supposed to happen, but we're simply just talking about this cognizance, this awareness that's naturally there, yet ungraspable. But there's nothing in our experiences, whether it's perceptions of thought or whatever, that is external to that. So in that way, we understand everything that appears as originating from this purity. So this is what we refer to as luminosity, this inconceivable dimension. Since falling asleep and death are very similar processes, this practice is particularly important to prepare ourselves for the time of death. If we awaken and find ourselves unable to retain this luminosity during the course of the night, we should pray fervently to Guru Rinpoche, saying, "May I be able to perceive the luminosity." Resting in simplicity, we should then return to sleep. If our minds are restless and our thoughts become wild, preventing us from falling asleep, we should realize that these thoughts have neither origination, nor dwelling place, nor cessation. So we would understand that whatever arises has no reality in terms of being something that has been produced, exists, or something that's going somewhere. If we are untroubled by thoughts, we should simply rest undistractedly in the natural state. So if things are just okay, we just remain in that presence. Should dreams arise, we should try to recognize during the dream that we are dreaming. So this is within the dream. We might know that this is just a dream and we can do funny things. We know that we're dreaming. In the morning, as we awake, we should see displayed in the sky before us the vast array of Guru Rinpoche and his retinue. All the dakinis and dakinis who surround him are calling out of their sleep. All the dakinis and dakinis who surround him are calling us out of our sleep by filling all of space with the sound of Vajraguru mantra and celestial music. So this is when we wake up in the morning. It's important that we have that presence of the teacher right from the start. Just sitting up, just being present, and maybe even sustaining that just for a moment. Then we consider that enlightenment is there in the form of Guru Rinpoche and the dakinis and dakinis. Okay, I'll be right back. So when we rise from bed, we should think that we're stepping into the celestial field of Sandupari. So this is the copper-colored mountain. So we should think that where we are is not ordinary, it's a Buddha realm. Because that is what our reality intrinsically are. The unity of phenomena appearing, yet having nothing ultimate about them. So this purity of the unity of appearance and emptiness, we see as a Buddha field. Similarly, all who dwell there are dakinis and dakinis. And we ourselves, a Vajragini, are not fabricated reality present from beginningless time. So this is where, if we wonder what is it all about, what am I, what is reality, this is it. We are Vajragini, ultimately in the midst of a mandala, the unfabricated reality present from beginningless time. That is reality as it is, and yet we know sentient beings undergoing their particular karmic predicament and so forth suffer. And so right now, when we have this presence of very raw and brutal suffering happen right around us, it's necessary that we realize that as long as we're straying into delusion, we'll perpetuate these patterns of suffering. So we want to benefit sentient beings, and also we want to, in order to really benefit sentient beings, make sure that we're not caught up in delusion so that we can benefit sentient beings even more. We call out to the Guru with yearning and devotion. Lama Keno, you the Guru, you know. And with this we mean that the Guru knows everything. In these simple two words, you know, there's no need to elaborate. You know. We don't know, we know that, but at the same time we know that whatever there is that we are obstructed from is due to our obscurations. The Guru doesn't have those obscurations. There's nothing which is left unknown. And so the sage has this, the Guru has this capacity, and also this presence of the Guru we carry with us at all times. So we're all the time protected and all the time understood through the presence of the Guru. We're blessed by the teacher, we're empowered by the teacher, and so on. Guru Rinpoche has been dwelling at the red lotus at our heart center. Now this lotus opens wide as he emerges, rising to dwell once more above our head. We ceaselessly entreat him, saying, may my mind be turned to the Dharma, may my Dharma progress along the path, and may all delusory appearances be transmuted into wisdom. So particularly if you look in the literature of the Longchen Ngondro and the general preliminaries, then there's some visualization there about how we practice this yoga in the morning, and how from the central channel then the Guru emerges and dwells in front of us. So we supplicate the Guru that our mind may turn to the Dharma, that the Dharma may dispel delusion, that delusion may arise as wisdom. So we should cultivate this practice until our mind is constantly filled with the recollection of the Guru. Whatever our activity, whether eating, sleeping, walking, or sitting, the thought of the Guru should always be vividly present. One should not attain accomplishment merely by thus having met the teacher and having obtained some brief advice. Sorry, one cannot. So we might meet the teacher, but unless we actually apply the teaching, then what the teacher really is about is left untouched. And this is what the teacher truly wants us to understand. So Rinpoche says the Guru is not only to be found externally, but is always present within the enlightened nature of our mind. Okay. So are we still Vajragini after dissolving into the heart of the Guru when we arise? Yes, so the way that whenever we have Vajrayana practice, we're always invoking the sacred, right? We're always invoking enlightenment as manifest. See, there's a danger in that we begin to have something that we hold on to. So enlightenment is not attained through us fabricating or holding on or having reference points. This is what is the cause of duality. So as much as we recognize the enlightened nature of reality, manifest and understand that and carry that understanding through the practice of visualization, we're also about dissolving any reference points whatsoever. So whenever we have our Vajrayana practice, we have the visualization, and we also have the dissolution of the visualization. We would say the visualization itself eliminates the extreme of nihilism, this idea that enlightenment is just a void. On the other hand, this reference point could become something that we hold as eternal, and that's why we need to dissolve that. So we similarly have the dissolution, which we say dissolves the extreme of eternalism. So whatever we're doing with Vajrayana, we always have the visualization and then the dissolution. But then after the dissolution, as we engage with the world, because we're going to have constant perceptions, then we sustain this this visualization practice in our post-meditation as well. And that's where we visualize ourselves as Vajragini, and we carry that throughout the post-meditation period. Yeah. Guru Rinpoche said, I'm never apart from those with devotion. So this is universal for all various Buddhist vehicles and so on. This teaching of Buddha Anusmriti, recollecting the Buddha. We would say the Buddha, if we think of him in front of us, is there. Guru Rinpoche, if we think of Guru Rinpoche, he is there. And he himself then says, he says, I'm never apart from devotion. If we think that the Guru is an ordinary being, it will be quite difficult to generate the intensity of devotion necessary for progress. Thus, we should perceive the Guru as embodying the immutable wisdom of Guru Rinpoche. So we shouldn't think of our teacher in this way. Now my teacher is here, now he's there, and so forth, or she's here, there, and so on. We need to go beyond that. Thus, we should perceive the Guru as embodying the immutable wisdom of Guru Rinpoche, the Lotus Born, whose omniscience pervades the three worlds, and who knows precisely who is praying to him at the moment of their prayer, even if millions of beings are praying at the same instant. So there's never this sort of fragmented view of various beings doing various things. This nature of Guru Rinpoche is all pervasive and doesn't fall into any of these fragmented perceptions that we sentient beings have. Recently, Rinpoche was in India teaching in Pune. He was going on about how the Indian disposition is particularly well suited for going beyond these kind of dualistic fixations. I think he was mentioning the example of Ganesh, who sometimes is seen riding on as his mount, as what he rides on the rat or the mouse. And Rinpoche was saying that's the wonderful thing about the Indian, the cultural discourse of India, that it accommodates this non-duality, this lack of fragmentation. And like Nagarjuna says, for those who understand emptiness, everything is possible. Rinpoche says then, devotion is the essence of the path. And if we have in mind nothing but the Guru and feel nothing but fervent devotion, whatever occurs is perceived as his or her blessing. If we simply practice this constantly present devotion, this is prayer itself. When all thoughts are imbued with devotion to the Guru, there is a natural confidence that will take care of whatever may happen. All forms are the Guru, all sounds are prayer, and all gross and subtle thoughts arise as devotion. Everything is spontaneously liberated into the absolute nature, like knots tied in the sky. Right? This is the supreme Guru Yoga, in which the Guru is realized as the indivisible three Kayas. This will be accomplished without having to rely upon rituals of the development stage, without having to rely upon dark retreat, void visions, or the holding of the breath and its entering into the central channel. Through this practice alone, and all other practices through this practice alone, all other practices simply merge into one-pointed devotion, as happened with Gyalwa Gyutsangpa and other great saints who remained in a state of single-minded devotion day and night for months and years, letting time flow by and not even noticing hunger and thirst. So this is the key point, the key skillful means of the entire Vajrayana path. And while we might be sort of fascinated with the idea of doing, all sorts of yoga practices and sort of exotic, extraordinary ways of practicing, it's actually this key point that all these various practices, they are founded upon. And within this key practice alone, everything else will evolve from that. So we could simply just focus on this. By the way, Gyalwa Gyutsangpa, who was a great true master, is an extraordinary person. And I was just on this website that's called Treasury of Lives. And because I think one of our friends, who for the time being, because the work and finished, she unnamed, but is working on the life story of Gyutsangpa, but life was extraordinary. So if you go to this website, you will find Treasury of Lives, Gyutsangpa. This is another 20p 2090. But anyway, another extraordinary man, also very interesting life. Through this devotion, right, through this devotion, we're not straight into worldly affairs. So we're not fascinated by all the superficial bling of ordinary affairs, and also all of the situations that emerge from our engagement with this life, where we sometimes unnecessarily take them overly serious. So we don't fall for either the attractions or the sort of the repulsive qualities. We don't fall into this illusion of what we call affairs. Acquiring judgment regarding the actions bear fruit when not negative actions. So at the same time also are aware, the more we realize that phenomena are empty, we also realize that the way they appear is highly contingent on our actions. So all aspirations to attain peace to oneself alone, does not stray into the lower paths. Seeing all phenomena as deity, sounds, and great bliss, one does not stray into ordinary perceptions. Seeing all things as the Guru, with all one's thoughts enveloped in fervent devotion, one does not stray into negative views. In this way, renunciation of distraction arise. All should be abandoned, disappears by itself. Meditation and post-meditation blend into one, and the true nature of the absolute, one's own wisdom awareness, becomes manifest. So this is through the practice, the ordinary delusions fall away and the qualities become manifest. Rinpoche said we should continuously practice pure vision until we naturally see that the universe and all beings are completely pure and perfect. Particularly, whether the movements of our mind are directed toward outer phenomena or are gathered internal impressions, we should recognize their nature and let them be spontaneously liberated. So we are continually engaged in two-way dynamic. There's us, mind goes out, and then there's all the reflections internal. What we call the outer world and the inner world. So these we sometimes refer to as moving upwards, and sometimes gathering. So in fact, into our experience. But the point here is knowing that whether they're external or internal, they all are intrinsically without reality, and we should just let them be spontaneously liberated. We should avoid indulgence in active memories of past activities, taking through as life. If left unchecked, thoughts such as remembering victories over enemies, or savoring schemes that yielded wealth, or any thought of repeating in the future what gained worldly success in the past, will engender a proliferation of thoughts, just as wind take over just as wind over a lake creates ceaseless ripples. So for example, we might think, this worked, I actually made a good profit on this. I actually benefited from this. I'm going to pursue this. And this is where we end up being very busy. Rinpoche also says, if we lose ourselves in memories of situations involving desire, hatred, pride, and jealousy, then we chain ourselves more securely to delusion. It is through preoccupation with these kinds of situations that karma develops and suffering ensues. So we might have memories, things that were done to us that were wrong, things that happened, other people who, in one way or another, upset us or engenders strong emotions. These emotions then become part of our psychology, and this is where then we consolidate this strong sense of self and duality between self and other. And that's where suffering comes from. When the thought arises, we simply note that it has occurred, while at the same time it has come from nowhere. And leaving no path, just in its across the sky, leaving a mark on its. This way, when thoughts arise, we can liberate it into absolute space. When thoughts do not arise, we should bring the open simplicity of natural. Now, what we're saying here is that it's not saying that things are when we're talking about how we should apply with the delusion. Because when we see through the delusion, then these illusory appearances don't take on reality, and then they are like a bird, a trace of a bird in the sky. To just say, sort of casually, that everything that arises is naturally free. That's saying, I'm enlightened, for me, everything's like that. The difference between how yogis and ordinary people, they handle their experience. This is the scope of the yogi. This is how we should do this. But we understand that the way that reality is experienced differs from individual. This is speaking to those who have engaged on the path of yoga. And that's where they apply this insight and sustain it through them these instructions. In short, no matter what activity we reach, we should never harm the individual collective group. Great benefit results from this. In addition, all of our activities should be consciously directed and dedicated towards the benefit of all sentient beings throughout the vast universe. This thought of others is the first point, basic preparation for the development of the precious. So keeping Guru in mind, or keeping our teacher in mind, or keeping the deity in mind, means that we're continually connecting with a greater dimension of reality. This helps us all the time. But particularly then developing this attention to benefit, this is, for example, preparation with Buddhist. In the context of the main practice, all our actions should be illuminated with realization of emptiness, and our mind should be fixed pointedly. So first, which means preparation with that means that there's a reference point, and that is realization of emptiness. This is what Paul kindly says, well, short of having a realization of emptiness, then non-distraction. So this is the we should remain fixed one pointedly on. We should be seduced or stray from the back. This is the second point. If for whatever reason it's difficult and impossible for us to generate the realization of emptiness at this early stage in our practice, then we should concentrate with great diligence upon Guru Rinpoche himself, preventing our minds from entertaining even the slightest negative emotion. So this is the main part. Finally, and this is the third point, we should conclude all that we do with the dedication Ngoa. What is it again? Yeah, it's called, yeah, dedication. So dedication Ngoa. Anyway, so we conclude what we do with a dedication of merit, consciously offering any merit accumulated through our practice and our other positive actions to the benefit of all sentient beings. So instead of our practice being something that all of a sudden becomes a new credential and something where we think, I'm a great practitioner, just we've done something great, but then the value of it we give away. So these three, the preparation, the main part, and the conclusion with dedication, these are known as the three supreme points of the great vehicle. The preparation, which will allow our practice to achieve its ultimate fruit. The main part, which will protect our practice from obstacles and deviations. And the conclusion or dedication, which ensures a limitless increase to the benefits of our practice. So these three supreme methods, three excellences, they're called different things in Tibetan. If we have developed the ability to focus the mind, then we should find little or no difficulty practicing this Guru. But if we fail to train properly and have cultivated the qualities of the great vehicle, and instead insist that we're only willing to practice the Tsokpa Tempo or the great perfection, it will not help us. The view of Dzogchen is quite lofty, while at this time our stream of being is quite low. A child of 2 or 3 years of age lacks the experience, faculties, and understanding enjoyed by a mature person of 20. If not all of our lives we remember the instructions of the Guru, then he will never abandon us. Gradually, there will develop in us a sound realization of the various stages of the path. So even though Dzogchen sounds very easy, it is subtle. And particularly now with the internet and so forth, you have a surprising amount of persons who seem to be out there saying, now Dzogchen, it's very easy and it's simple, and nowadays the Tibetans they agreed to make this public, and and it's not true. It's nothing about some like secret lodge or something where all of us now we decided to share with the world. Like that. It's something that requires apprenticeship, the sensitivity to the aspect of confusion, and also the sensitivity to the possibility of enlightenment, and particularly then engaging with a living person that sets our path for us. We trust this person. We follow the path. This is what then we merge in the experience. Because in theory sounds wonderful, but the actual objective of Dzogchen is more than just something that sounds nice. It's an actual experience that transforms our being. And that is then where keeping the presence of the teacher in our mind at all times is then where actual experience emerges. Rinpoche says, to ensure that the Guru always remain with us, we practice constantly. It is a benefit to think that a few months or a year of practice will be all that is necessary for attainment. We should practice from this moment until we draw our final breath. Such diligence is necessary if we are to gain the confidence to maintain our faith and our understanding at the difficult and terrifying moment of death. We must ask ourselves if, when death finally comes for us, we will be able to remember all the Guru's instructions. Even if we can remember them, it might be quite difficult to actually put them into practice when we're afflicted with the suffering of death, unless we have prepared ourselves by a lifetime spent in constant practice. So this is this is where the practice is not seen as something that we just do sometimes, but it's something that entirely infuses our being. A Dharma practitioner should be able to cope with all possible circumstances, neither elated by the good nor cast into despair by the bad. In either case, free from expectation and doubt, one should remember the Guru. So, without hoping for something to happen or worrying that something might happen, we just continually keep the Guru's presence in mind. Happiness and sorrow, joy and suffering, though nothing in themselves, can become either a help or a hindrance on the path. What we ourselves make of these experiences is the test of the genuineness of our practice. This is the true essence of this Guru Yoga and is itself the main practice. If we practice this to our best of our ability, there is no other so-called profound teachings. So this is the heart of the Vajrayana practice. This is where we are introduced to what we call the co-emergent wisdom, the original condition of wisdom that is originally present within us, but through our confusion, we fail to see this nature. Through the kindness of the teacher and our devotion, then by the blessing of the teacher, then we're able to reconnect with this original co-emergent wisdom. This is where the Guru Yoga itself is the main practice. Everything else is something that enhances this experience. Here, the are four types practice in a very elaborate way. They correspond to the purification of the four types of birth. Birth from an egg, birth from a womb, the warmth and moisture, and miraculous births. But this Guru Yoga is the essence of all these, and why has no such detailed elaboration. All the other aspects of Kirim, or what we call development stage practice, are also included within the Guru Yoga, although they aren't considered individually. These are clear appearances, which is a clear visualization of the deity. Pure mindfulness refers to the knowledge of all the symbols and aspects of the deity. For example, one head, for instance, symbolizes the oneness of the absolute nature. Two hands symbolizing means and wisdom. And then firm pride, which refers to the complete confidence. From the beginning, from the very beginning, the deity. So then, these are more aspects of the development state practice. So we have the clear appearance, that means visualization. We should be this issue with sound, apparently, when that happens, I would say refers to the fast broad message. Okay. Anyways, so we have these three aspects. Rinpoche here referred to three aspects of development stage practices, which is the visualization, the understanding of the symbolism of the deity, and also the confidence that we have from the very origin being the deity. It said that if we just visualize our Guru with clarity and vividness for an instant, it is already better than meditating upon 100,000 other deities. This Guru Yoga is also the quintessence of the Tsokram, or completion stage. Okay, just someone saying the meaning of all the symbols is a bit overwhelming. What guides can help? There are explanations. For example, if you look in Words of My Perfect Teacher, then the explanation of Guru Rinpoche's symbols is quite clearly explained there. If you look in the yoga section. And also for the various sadhanas and so forth, there are explanations. It's not, it shouldn't be overwhelming, but straightforward. And at the end of the day, just would think all the various the expression of the enlightened qualities. So, um, also quintessence of the suffering completion stage. So before I spoke about how we have the development stage of the visualization and so forth as a reference point, then also we dissolve. And that's what we do in the completion stage. There's ways that we dissolve this in the sense that we're connecting with more subtle aspects of our being. And so Rinpoche says, in Sokrim we find the 6 yogas. So these are yogas that enable us to touch more on the more, you could say, intuitive, more subtle aspect of our being. And this again is more the dimension of the female. So we talk, these teachings on the Tsokrim are very often associated with what we call Mother Tantra. So that's more related to the body and the female realm of the body. Whereas the male Tantra, the Father Tantra very often is associated with this sort of engagement with the external world. Anyway, so the 6 yogas, they are then these various ways that we practice yoga and connect with enlightenment through the means of the body. So Rinpoche mentions these Tumo, or inner heat, which is the root of the path, Julu, or illusory body, which is the foundation of the path, Milam, or dream yoga, which is the measure of progress on the path, Wursel, or luminosity, which is the essence of the path, Bardo, or intermediate state, which is the invitation to continue on the path, and Poa, the transference of consciousness, which allows one to traverse the remainder of the path. So within this, the Vajrayana universe, there's this whole science of knowledge about how to work with our consciousness and our various perceptions, particularly, well, on the outer level, in terms of understanding the nature of reality, the outer world, and on the inner level, understanding the nature and the dynamics of the body, which is where we work then with what we call Nadi, Prana, and Bindu. So this is where these yogas are practiced. Remember, it says all these practice must fall within the sphere of Guru Yoga. The inner heat and illusory body practices correspond to the yoga of the Vajra or adamantine body of the Guru. Dream luminosity practices correspond to the yoga of the Vajra speech of the Guru. Vajra corresponds to the yoga of the Vajra mind of the Guru. This is why Guru Yoga is also the quintessence of the completion stage practice. What are Trikya and Trigya? I think we might mention that. Trikya and Trigya, the 6 yogas, they are the the skill means aspect of the general tantric vehicle, where the Trikya and Trigya, the skillful means aspect, then particularly which is the practice. So there's still a few pages to go, and we have actually reached the end of the hour. So I think we'll stop here. And then, even though we will be next Wednesday, um, we'll certainly complete by next Wednesday. I have reserved another webinar, and so you will receive reminders for that. So we'll continue and conclude next Wednesday. And then also, if you have questions, this would be a time that we could have some time for that. Okay. So if there are no further questions, you're very welcome. But if there are no further questions, then I guess we'll conclude. Okay. Okay. All right. Through this virtue may all beings throughout existence awaken together without a single being left behind. In the pure realm of the luminous essence, the ground of the great perfection, may they remain inseparable from the kayas and wisdoms. Through all our births, wherever we may be born, may we be endowed with the 7 good qualities of the higher realms. As soon as we are born, may we meet with the Dharma and have the freedom to practice it properly. At that time, may we please the holy gurus and practice the Dharma throughout the day and night. Realizing the Dharma and accomplishing its essential meaning, may we cross the ocean of existence in that life. Thoroughly teaching the holy Dharma in this world, may we never tire of accomplishing the benefit of others. By this vast benefit of others, without partiality or bias, may all attain Buddhahood together. So this session has been recorded. So if there are places where there was the sound wasn't perfect, please refer to the record. It will be uploaded very